Hello, this is Shari Kraber from StatEase in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I would like to welcome all of you to the Magnificent 7 in DX11, our introduction to version 11 of Design Expert. I will continue to have everybody muted so that we can minimize the disruptions from feedback. If you would like to get a copy of this presentation, the slides are posted on our webinar page on our website. If you have questions about any of the features of Design Expert, I would encourage you to send those questions to stathelp@statease.com, as is shown there on the opening screen. I expect this webinar to take between 25 and 30 minutes. It's a rather brief one today. And so I hope you enjoy what we have to offer with Design Expert. First of all, a little introduction to StatEase. As you probably know, we are a provider of design of experiments software, and we also offer training workshops and consulting. We were founded 35 years ago. We just celebrated our 35th anniversary in December, and we have always been headquartered in Minneapolis, Minnesota in the United States. You can see a picture on screen there of the Minneapolis skyline. We employ over a dozen professionals who provide programming and statistical services, and we also have a wonderful worldwide network of resellers. Although you may laugh, the mission of our company has always been statistics made easy. We work very hard to try to make these design of experiments tools accessible to both non-statisticians and statisticians alike. As you are aware, we recently released Design Expert software version 11, and its major focus this time was a great update to the user interface. This has been long desired, and it features a really nice new look, dockable tool palettes, some multi-pane ANOVA and diagnostic views, and improved graphics for your outputs. So in this webinar, I will be demoing my favorites. We are going to look at how we've improved and updated the navigation flow. We are going to look at a new design properties tool, and I'm going to show you how the curvature analysis has been updated. We will look at the new format for the ANOVA and the diagnostics, and look briefly at the model graphs. We'll wrap it up with the confirmation run node, which has been updated. I'm going to show you all these features on some screenshots first, and then I will move over to Design Expert V11 and give you a working demonstration of it. Then we'll wrap up with a few other things that I think are important to know exist in the new version. So let's start with navigation. Navigation in Design Expert has improved by removing those yellow factor type tabs and replacing it with more of a tree structure, the opening and closing pull down lists. In this left-hand pane, you can see that the factorial list is opened up at the moment. And if I clicked on the response surface designs, then the factorial grouping would close and the response surface would open up. So you can navigate between any of the design types using that feature. Once you get into the analysis, we still have the transform, effects, ANOVA, diagnostics, and model graphs buttons, but as you click on each of those buttons, above that, a pane will open that's a view bar, and this will show the views that are available to you, or in the case of ANOVA and diagnostics, the various layout options that you can choose from. So I will demo that for you in just a few minutes here. The tool palettes, some of them we have taken away, but replaced with these view bars. The ones that still exist are now dockable and movable, and the ability to dock these is just a wonderful new addition, so they no longer get in your way. We have maintained our intuitive flow, the top to bottom and left to right flow as we go through all of the analysis details. So those of you who are very comfortable working with Design Expert 8 and 9 and 10 will have no trouble adjusting to the navigation in version 11. I'd like to now introduce you to the new Design Properties tool. Now, this is a new alternative to those options that are also still available by right-clicking on either a row header or a column header. You can get to these features right now. If you right-click on a column header, you will find the Edit Info area in which you can change the factor name or units or the format. That will also now be available in a little Design Properties box. So it's much more obvious where you go to change any of these features. I think this will help out novices a lot with the software and just knowing where they can edit things. It brings it up front and becomes not quite as hidden. The row status can also be changed from this Design Properties window, as well as adding comments. Again, this tool is dockable and nicely stays out of the way. Let's spend a couple minutes talking about the curvature analysis. When you have a factorial design with center points, you will encounter a more intuitive analysis window. In Design Expert 10, you were brought into the analysis of variance with blue text and black text and this little bit confusing adjusted model and unadjusted model. That often overwhelmed people with too much information. So we have changed this so that you now come first to a curvature check screen, which simply shows you the significance of the model and the significance of curvature and your lack of fit information. It will give you some advice. In this case, and the first case I'm going to show in the demo, the curvature appears significant. And if you really want to be able to predict in the middle of the design, you're going to need to augment to a response surface. However, you can just proceed with the analysis as is, which is basically equivalent to ignoring the data from the center point runs and proceeding with just the factorial analysis. If you don't have significant curvature, then you could actually remove that curvature term and thus simplify the analysis. So I'm going to demo both of those for you in just a few minutes. Let's look at the ANOVA layout. The ANOVA takes advantage of the new interface with some split panes that can be customized to be laid out to the way you want it. At the top of the screen, there are predetermined layout options. The default for the ANOVA is this triple pane view with the analysis of variance section on the left and the fit statistics and the coefficients and equations on the right. And you can, like I said, customize this to how you want it. There is still the purple text that gives you guidance along the way, keeping this as user-friendly as we possibly can, considering we are looking at statistics here. I like this view a lot because it eliminates the scrolling that I used to have to do to get down to those adjusted R-squared, predicted R-squared values, all that really extra great information about how well your model is doing fit-wise, besides, of course, the important p-value information. The diagnostics are similarly laid out in a multi-pane view. As you can see here, we've got 4 diagnostic graphs that we're looking at all simultaneously. You can certainly click on the single pane view and do it one at a time if you would like, but the 4-pane view gives you everything you need really at a quick glance. You can customize this report by moving and dragging any of these graphs around. So you could choose to put up any 4 graphs all at the same time that you choose. Another feature we have built into Design Expert 11 because of the new interface, we also have the ability to sort reports. So you can sort the diagnostic reports that is on that lower right-hand corner, and you can also sort the ANOVA report. And this follows along with most of the reports in the evaluation table as well. So if you like to sort by outliers, by variance inflation factor, those types of things, that is now doable. The model graphs have been updated with a lot of behind the scenes smoothing features. This features some thicker lines, some smoother edges, and by eliminating again that yellow base and replacing it with a dark gray base, we have achieved, I think, a more modern look, and definitely a look that is easy to send out to reports. This has been wonderful for us. We use copy and paste to get our graphics out to our workshop training materials and our presentations, and it's really a night and day difference between DX10 graphics that have been outputted and DX11 graphs that have been pasted in. The quality and the resolution of these graphics is much higher. So any of you who may be considering doing a publication in a professional journal or a magazine, the output from the software will be much, much nicer for that. And of course, your own professional reports as well will get a nice upgraded look. Now, people have asked us about confirmation runs for some time, and with DX10, you could only do confirmation runs for one point at a time. The new confirmation interface now allows you to do multiple sets of confirmation runs at differing test conditions. So you could have one location at one side of your graph and another location at another side of the graph, and really confirm the entire design space. You can enter your response data, and then you will get one report that shows you all the different locations. So let's look at these new features live in Design Expert. So I'm going to open Design Expert here. I'm going to start with a 2-level design with 4 center points so I can show you that curvature feature. And as you see, the navigation through entering the factors and entering the responses remains the same. We still have the power calculations, which are really wonderful to help you manage expectations and make sure that you are creating a design that is powerful enough to detect the effects of interest. Whoops, oh, my apologies there. Here's the screen, the spreadsheet view, and if I click any of these rows, I can get the row status, and I can change the row status by selecting it using the little pull-down list. I can also enter comments for any of the rows. If I click on a factor column header, then you can see that we can change any of that factor information. Much of it is there. There's still things that are available by right-clicking. You can still make change factors from numeric to categoric and back. You can insert factors, ignore, delete factors, and of course sorting factors can be done easiest just by a little bit of a double click on the columns. So that can be a really nice way to show your data in different ways. I am going to pull in the data. So we can look at the analysis. And again, here is our effect screen. And you can see at the top that we have the different views available. So I could change the view just easily. And there's the functionality hasn't changed, but the interface has just changed a little bit. So we no longer have that tool palette that's floating and getting in the way sometimes of some of the text. Here's where we get to the new screens, the new layout. So you can see right now we have the factorial design with center points, and you can see the curvature check screen, which will only be here, just a note, it will only exist when you have done the runs at the exact numeric center point of the design space. So if you've never seen a curvature check or the curvature information before, that's probably because your center points, if you've run them, haven't actually been at the exact center. You've had to adjust them a little bit. So the curvature check is numerically calculated only when the center points are at the exact middle of the design space. So in this case, the curvature appears significant. And if we do go on to the analysis of variance here, then you can see the curvature line. It shows it's significant, and we are separately accounting for curvature independent of the factorial model itself. The lack of fit information is shown here, and that's great. Now, this is our first implementation of these screens. So I see a question that's come in. Is there a way to set the default of these screens? I believe that the default at this point is still the software default that we've changed, and you will have to set it as you use it each time. But I'm sure that that will be a future feature that we will make sure that this is remembering your previous setting. We usually just have to start with a basic implementation and then move on from there. So perhaps even in an update, we'll get that ability for the screen selection that you choose to stick for the future settings. The diagnostics are shown here. And let me just show you, I'm going to take the residuals versus run is a graphic I like to use a lot. And the influence diagnostics are down in the right. I don't really need to look at unless there's something going wrong. So I'm going to just drag and drop that residuals versus run graph right down here. So I just grabbed the tab and I dragged it and dropped it down onto the fourth quadrant there. So now I have the normal plot of residuals. I have the residuals versus predicted. I have the residuals versus run and the box-Cox plot. Those would be my primary diagnostic graphs to look at. So again, I could switch this to maybe just show 2 graphs at a time or 1 graph at a time and get it really nice and big. That's a great way of looking at the detail here. But if I just need to quickly look at it, then the 4-pane view is a really nice view. navigation. On these, you can always color by other factors, so some of the factors that can be interesting at times. Let me back up one screen and go back to the curvature check, and I'm actually going to go to the other response because I've created a second response where there's actually no curvature. It's the exact same data with 4 center points, but now curvature is not significant, as you'll see here. And the advice changes, says consider removing the curvature term to simplify the analysis. So I can click that remove curvature term, and then I will get the analysis of variance without the curvature term added in, and the insignificant curvature, that the extra degrees of freedom, are just added into the lack of fit. And in this case, we can see that lack of fit is also not significant, but the factorial model is significant. This would be an appropriate analysis now under the conditions that there is no significant curvature. So then again, we can look at the model graphs and we can see how these are showing the green center points are where we would expect them to be. The graphs have not changed visually in Design Expert, but it's the output of the graphics into other programs where you'll definitely see the nicer, newer resolution of the design. One feature that I think is really nice that we've changed is this factors tool, and the fact that I can move it wherever I want. Traditionally, in DX11, it was always sitting right on top of the graph. Now you might position it down in the lower left where it's easy, or my favorite place, I have to say, has been to put it over to the right side of the screen because that real estate generally seems to be unused. We've also highlighted a little bit more our jump to run feature. So you can choose a specific run number to jump to, and it will go specifically to the view that contains that run. So that has been there in previous versions, but it has not been as obvious. So now it's specifically labeled jump to run, and so I think it's just, again, trying to make it easier to find. I have a question here. How will data previously run in older versions work going into the new version? Absolutely seamlessly. We do this with clients all the time. They send us data files in version 8, 9, or 10, and we are running them in version 11 without a problem. Version 11 files can be saved as is and can be opened immediately in version 10. And with older versions, you can always do a file save as and be able to open it in older versions. Okay. The confirmation runs is another thing I would like to show you. I have 2 runs up here right now. I have 2 locations. I've entered in 3 response values, and you can see that for location number 1, I have information here. And I don't have my screen expanded all the way so that I can navigate it a little bit more easily with the webinar tools, but on your own screen, it'll be a little bit bigger. Confirmation run number 2 is also here. And again, you can see the results for run number 2. Confirmation point number 2. So you could have any number of confirmation runs. Okay, I'm looking over some of the questions. If I don't get to your question, I will send you a reply after the webinar. Okay, so a few other things, some other new features. We have implemented Unicode and UTF-8 character sets. This allows Asian characters to be used. Really, really nice for all of our international people. The control scroll wheel will zoom in and out. So if you're using a mouse, try the control scroll or try the scroll wheel, and you will find that it can help you make the text larger if you need that, or help you see more detail on the graphs. I mentioned that many of the tables are now sortable. Split plot designs can be built with A-optimality. Previously they were I-optimal split plot designs. Now you can also choose an A-optimal split plot design. I'm sure you will just jump to using that as soon as possible. Those of you who are instructors and use the response simulator, I encourage you to check out the help system and check the new functions that we've added into it so it can do a wider range of polynomial functions. Those of you who have very, very large data sets can now limit the maximum model order in the fit summary in order to help speed up calculations. This was a constraint in previous versions. And of course, for most of you, this won't affect you, but for a few who are doing really super large designs, that will be a nice addition. Our last exciting announcement is that for this spring, we will be releasing a Mac version of Design Expert version 11. We are busy working on finalizing, making sure it works well, and I would expect that it will be out in the April or May timeframe. So if you have colleagues who are Mac users, I would let them know that we will be getting that Mac version released
Shari's
to
webinar
them
right now.
Very shortly.
But I'll come see you after. She's just about done.
So to recap, the navigation flow has been improved. The design properties is kind of part of that navigation and making the software a little bit more user-friendly and upfront for people. The curvature analysis portion of the software has been updated, I think really refined, so it's not quite so overwhelming to non-statisticians. The layouts of both the ANOVA and diagnostics have been improved so that we can see multiple views all at once and really use all that real estate. If you are using multiple screens, multiple monitors, you can literally put one view over on one monitor and another on a second monitor. When you're transferring these models out to other packages, the resolution will be a lot better. And you can now do multiple confirmation runs. So if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and download the 30-day free trial. Check out these new features. And if you have questions on them, we'll be happy to help you answer those questions. As I said, if you've sent in questions that I haven't addressed here, I will be emailing you, send you a reply, and get any of those sorted out for you. So if you need more training, if you're interested in attending a class, we have a lot of classes coming up this spring. We have our mixture and combined designs for optimal formulations. That'll be in March in Cleveland, Ohio. The design experiments for pharma class will be in April in Philadelphia. And then other classes will be held in Minneapolis. And we're bringing our mixture class to Washington, D.C. and other classes. If you have a location where you would like to see us offer a public training class, I would welcome you to send us that comment, and we always take that into consideration. If you would like us to come on site, we are also very happy to do on-site training and really customize the contents for your particular group's needs. So With that, I would like to thank you for attending this presentation. It's posted on our website, and we will also have a recording of this posted later today or tomorrow. If you have questions, please email them to stathelp@statease.com. And I hope you have enjoyed the things that you're seeing in Design Expert 11. And I would like to say happy experimenting to all of you. Good luck with all of your designed experiments. Thank you for joining us today.